What's happening, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Fighting Words. Anthony Sanfilippo's here. I'm Bob Wankel. I'm in my echoey chamber in my new office here. I guess I got to do the Russ Joy thing and get some soundproofing going on in here, Anthony. I put a carpet down. I have some stuff on the walls, and it just still is a total echo in here. So bear with me, everybody. We're working on it.
It's like, in my house, Bob, I used to have it. So I used to have an office downstairs. But when we used to do the show, I kept getting, my computer kept freezing because I guess the Wi-Fi wasn't as strong down there. So I basically, every time we do the show, I move up to, our family room area. And my wife started working from home, and she took my desk that I used to use downstairs, brought it up to the spare bedroom, and turned it into her home office. And so she's got this beautiful home office upstairs, like desk, 2 screens, and the keyboard. She's got a cabinet next to her, great lighting, a very big, comfortable chair, and I'm sitting on basically a dining room chair at the table. Okay, so my wife's got much better office than I do.
I feel really good about the office. I don't feel great about the sound. So we'll do the best we can here today. And look, we have a lot to talk about. We have a Phillies-Dodgers NLDS series beginning this weekend at Citizens Bank Park, Game 1, right in the twilight hours here. So good news right off the bat. We don't have to worry about the shadows. The shadows aren't going to be a major factor in this game. So that'll be good to kind of extract that talking point. But what we do have is a Dodgers team that kind of put its foot down this week on the Cincinnati Reds. And kudos to the Reds for getting there. Took advantage of the Mets collapse. But as I noted in the last show, it's not like the Reds were on some crazy run to get into the postseason. It's just that the Mets were that bad. And I don't want to take anything away from the Dodgers, but that Reds team stinks, and they were totally overwhelmed by the moment. And I would expect a much different, at least from a psychological aspect, a much more prepared and ready for the moment type of team in the Phillies as this series gets started. Let me ask you right off the bat. There's just been this feeling that the Dodgers haven't been the Dodgers most of the year. They have gotten hot in September and now into October. Mookie Betts has obviously been much better after a slow start. You look at what you saw this week and it give you a little additional pause, or are you exactly where you were on Monday when we last talked about the theoretical matchup?
Yeah, so I still think that this is the 2 heavyweights going to go at each other, and I think it's a long series, maybe all 5 games. And but the Dodgers did show me a little something, right? They went out there and said, all right, Cincinnati, you're going to throw your ace at us, and who's a pretty good pitcher in Hunter Green. It's not like he's chopped liver. He's a really solid pitcher, and they smacked him around, top to bottom in that lineup. And so like that was the impressive thing to me, is that the Dodgers were pretty relentless offensively. Now, they still have some weaknesses with the bullpen, right? Like I watched what happened. I was like, I think I said on the program, I really wanted to pay attention to how they utilize their pitchers in relief. And Reds had some opportunities. Like even the first game, they were one batter, they were down 10-1 in that game at one point, whatever the hell the score was. They got back to being one batter away from bringing the tying run to the plate in that game. And then they leave the bases loaded in that instance. And then in game 2, they left the bases loaded twice, including once with no outs and didn't score, right? So there were times when I sit there and said, okay, the Dodgers still don't have an answer out there. Adding Sasaki changes the dynamic of that bullpen a little bit. Obviously, you got a guy comes in, throws 101 on the black and looked pretty good. So that definitely adds to their bullpen. But I still looked at it and said, man, the Dodgers look like a defending champ right now. They really do. Phillies are going to have to get on them quick. And what I mean by that is in the game, not necessarily in like first inning, second inning, although that would be great. But they got to, I think the Phillies have to win game 1. I'm kind of there with that, right?
That was my spicy take that I was going to bring to the table today. Like, I think that for the Phillies to win this series, it's essential that they get the first one. I agree with you. I mean, look, there once upon a time, not so long ago, we were looking at this Dodgers team, not just we, but the observers of the sport saying this might be the best team that we've ever seen. This could be a team that wins 115 games. And obviously they did not have that regular season. They underperformed. They dealt with a number of injuries, especially the pitching staff. But what they've looked like over the last couple of weeks is a team that is a tried and true legitimate champion. And the Phillies are going to have, I think, here's another take, maybe outside of the Astros in 22, I think that this is by far, I actually think this team's better than that Astros team. I think this is the hardest opponent in the playoffs the Phillies have had in this 4-year run.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're going to have to play their absolute best series to beat this team. I don't know, like you're not a fan, you cover it. But I don't know people listening if they sort of align this way. Typically, I get to the playoffs as a fan, and I'm nervous. I'm like, I can't think about work. I'm totally like just absolutely a wreck about what's going to happen. I think about the Eagles playoff runs, and it's like kind of all consuming for me. And we do this Philly show, and I have to tell you, like, I'm not nervous about the series. It doesn't mean that I don't think that they can win. It doesn't mean that I don't care, but I'm at this place with the Phillies. This is what they've done to me over time. I feel like they're either going to do it or they're not. And for that reason, I just don't like my psyche coming into this is just show me, and if you can't do it, then it's kind of what I've learned over the last 3 years. It's just the last piece of evidence. I mean, there's a lot at stake for these guys. There's a lot at stake for this team, and it's a good team. But I don't feel the nervousness that I typically do ahead of a series. And I don't know if that's because of expectations. It's because the opponent's so good. There's not a house money component to it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Bob. The one thing that I think about, maybe that may be the reason why, is the one thing about this Phillies team is when they play a really good team, they do tend to play a very good brand of baseball. Like the Phillies don't go out there and embarrass themselves against a really good team. This group, go back over 4 years, and not just in playoffs. I mean, I think regular season games too. Yeah, they've had some bad series here and there, bad games here and there. But when they get what we could consider like measuring stick type games or series, they tend to do well. They really do. And even this season, just go back just 2 weeks when they were playing the Dodgers in LA. And, don't forget that series meant something going into the beginning of the series. Like the Dodgers were within striking distance of the Phillies. And if the Dodgers could win that series, they had a shot to catch the Phillies for the bye. And the Phillies won the series. So like, it was only a couple weeks ago. And so like they played some really good baseball there. There were things about it that we're going to sit here and talk about today as being a red flag against the Dodgers, namely not hitting their starting pitching. But at the same time, they found a way, right? They still hung in there. They took every punch the Dodgers had, and they punched back and then counterpunched and everything. So like that's something that you got to appreciate about this Phillies team, is that when the opposition is good, they'll bring their A game. It's when they play down to the level of the competition that I think the frustration sets in for most fans. And that's why losses to teams like the Mets and the Diamondbacks drive everybody crazy, because you were certainly a superior team there and didn't get the job done. Whereas against a team that they probably shouldn't have beaten, like the Braves a couple times, they played their best brand of baseball. And so I think that's what you're going to get against the Dodgers. Whether they win or lose the series, I still think the Phillies are going to play a pretty good brand of baseball.
There's a lot to talk about as it relates to the entirety of the series, but what we have in front of us is a game one with a hell of a pitching matchup, and Christopher Sanchez, who will go for the Phillies, and then opposite Shohei Ohtani, because the Reds could not force a third game. So you see Ohtani now in game one. First of all, I will just note this. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani is a heck of a pitcher. For what it's worth, he's made 7 appearances at home this season. He's made 7 appearances on the road, and opponents are hitting 151 against him at home, and on the road they're hitting 282. They've put together a 425 OPS against Ohtani at home. They have put together a 678 OPS against him on the road. I don't know how much to make of home road splits. I know that he was coming off of a significant delay, and he had to ramp back up. I frankly did not look at the numbers too much to see if that was consistent across the board or if it was one blow up. I don't know how to look at Ohtani. And what scares me is that it's not even like he's their guy. Like Yamamoto was nasty the other night. Snell has been awesome. And I don't even think Blake Snell's like, he's the guy that doesn't really put the scare into me typically, but he's been awesome lately. They just have so much depth in this starting rotation that there is no like, well, if you get past Ohtani, then you can kind of catch your breath and there's just the next stud coming. But as far as it relates to Ohtani, I mean, like, how do you look at this? I heard Jeff Passan the other day on the ESPN pregame show, I think before Tigers Guardians, and he said he would take Sanchez as a pitcher right now over Shohei Ohtani, which is amazing because, I mean, that's the first time I think I've ever heard ESPN not totally falling over Shohei Ohtani. What do you got for me in this pitching matchup?
Yeah, I mean, look, he pitched great for 5 innings. Yeah, okay. My wife, okay? She's over here. She sees I'm doing a show and she wants to play charades to ask me about if I ate breakfast or not. No, I did not eat breakfast, hon. Thank you. Okay.
Important. She's just trying to take care of you, you know?
Yeah, I get it. She comes down out of her office to start playing charades with me. Anyway, Ohtani, as great as that performance was, it was only 5 innings, but it was a really great performance against the Phillies. He's a hitter. Right? Like, when I think of Shohei Ohtani, I think of the offensive statistics. I don't necessarily sit around going, oh, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball too. He's good. He's a very good pitcher. But I'm not sitting here talking about Shohei Ohtani in a Cy Young race, right? So I think that when you look at Christopher Sanchez, he would have been your Cy Young had it not been for a guy named Paul Skeens this year. That's why I think it's worth saying you would take Sanchez over Ohtani, because Sanchez has a better track record this season. I know Ohtani was building up, but Sanchez is a more complete pitcher. Ohtani is a very good pitcher who also happens to be the best hitter in the game, right? So that's what makes him the superstar that he is. Christopher Sanchez is easily one of the top 5 pitchers in baseball this season. So if I'm ranking them too, yeah, I take Sanchez over Ohtani as well.
Do you think it helps the Phillies at all that they saw him a couple of weeks ago in LA?
Yeah, I wrote this, in my preview yesterday. I kind of thought that, look, they didn't hit the 3 quote unquote starters that they saw. I know Emmett Sheehan came in as a bulk reliever after 3 batters for an opener. But the Phillies got a grand total of 3 hits in 17 2/3 innings off of the 3 Dodgers starters that they faced in Los Angeles. That's not good. That said, that was the first time they had ever seen Ohtani as a pitcher. They'd never seen him before. And Rob said, when we talked about Blake Snell, I asked him about it. He said that was the best he'd ever seen Blake Snell pitch, in all honesty. So when it comes to Ohtani, had not seen him before. Now all of a sudden you've gotten a couple of bats against him. You have a little bit of an idea on sequencing and how he likes to pitch in certain counts and things like that. Yeah, it can help, but let's not turn it into, okay, now that we've seen him, we'll be able to hit him. I think it helps a little bit. I don't think Shohei Ohtani is going to go out and throw 5 no-hit innings against the Phillies, but I also don't think the Phillies are going to put up 6 runs against Shohei Ohtani. It's probably something in between and closer to the no-hit than to the 6 runs.
Well, I think one thing that encouraged me a little bit, the Dodgers are favored to win this series right now. I was looking around a little bit at the odds, and they're favored to win the World Series now that they're in this round. We know that coming into the postseason, the Phillies had the edge there, but that's just primarily because.
And that changed, right, Bob? Because I believe as soon as the series ended, because ESPN put up their ESPN bet odds, and I think they had them both at plus 450 to win the World Series. But
yeah, it depends where you look. I mean, there's not a gaping there's not a huge disparity in terms of the way that this is, sort of laid out. But game 1's going to dictate everything here. And what I was kind of surprised to see, and maybe I shouldn't be. I mean, the Phillies are the 2 seed. They had the second best record in baseball. They've beaten this LA team. They beat them 2 out of 3 a couple of weeks ago. I was surprised to see the Phillies are favored in game one. I am. And I know that Christopher Sanchez is who he is. And I know this is a team, I think, from a national perspective that people believe is good. But I just think, given the Dodgers have a very public backing when it comes to betting. People want to bet on the Dodgers, and they certainly want to bet on Shohei Ohtani. And I guess I saw the Phillies come out minus 130, which is like not nothing. And it's down to 123 right now. But I don't know. What am I not seeing here? Am I giving the Dodgers like too much credit? I'm like defending champion, just pummeled the Reds, have been playing really well lately. Starting pitching's lights out. Am I overlooking this Phillies team? Like, I think that I sat here for 5-6 months and I said, man, this outfield stinks. Man, this bullpen has a lot of holes. They're kind of being dragged along by Kyle Schwarber and starting pitching. And, Trey Turner's had a good year. But other than that, like, I don't know. I just don't feel like that this is a great team. And now that they're here, I mean, it's undeniable the season that they've had and how well they've played down the stretch and how much longer this lineup is. But, like, I need you to talk me out of what I just can't get over, which is I just think that the Dodgers starting pitching is going to blow the doors off this Phillies lineup. Like, I'll just get to the point. Like, I don't think the Phillies are going to win this series. I actually think the Dodgers are going to win the series in 4 games.
It's possible.
And I actually was on Mike Gill's show the other day, and I was kind of outlining why I felt that way. And there were like people DMing me, and they're like, "Dude, you're a loser. Could you be more negative?" I'm like, I know. Like, it would be hard to be more negative. I don't feel it. I don't feel it in my bones right now. Doesn't mean I won't be wrong. I'm wrong all the time, but I'm having a hard time. So what I want you to do for me, and really for our listeners who certainly don't want to hear me go, I don't think the Phillies are going to win the series. Like, lay it out for me. Like, lay out the path to I don't think it's going to take, by the way, I don't think it's going to take an act of God. I don't think that this is David versus Goliath. Like, it's none of that. I just think the Dodgers are better. So talk me off that ledge.
Well, I mean, just because if you think a team's better doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to win the series. I mean, were the Padres better than the Cubs? Yeah, they didn't win the series, right? I mean, it happens. Like, and go back over just the last 4 years where this city was hyper alert to everything going on in the playoffs. The last 3 seasons, teams that were not better than the other team won the series a lot. Like, it happened several times. We've witnessed it firsthand multiple times, right? Both on the positive side for the Phillies and on the negative side for the Phillies. So just being the better team doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win. And I think the Phillies have a path here. I really do. Before I give my prediction, which I'll give it a little bit later, but there is a path here. The path is you got to work the starting pitching. I really believe that. I really believe that even if you don't put runs up on the board against the Dodgers starters, the sooner you get into that bullpen, the better off you are. Phillies are one of the best team in baseball with scoring runs after the 7th inning. They have abused a lot of teams' bullpens, even teams with decent bullpens. The Phillies have hit them. So you get past those starting pitchers and the Phillies can hit. So I think that's key number 1 for the Phillies. Secondarily, it's matching up lefties against Ohtani and Freeman. And I know that the Dodgers have some right-handers, right? That can be, obviously Mookie Betts is playing great. Teoscar Hernandez can pop one all the time. I'm starting to think that Will Smith is going to play in this series, that he hasn't played in a bit with that fractured hand. He's arguably the top 2 catcher in baseball, maybe behind Cal Raleigh. So like there are right-handed bats that can hurt you, but I really think it's going to come down to every time Ohtani and Freeman come to the plate, or the Phillies going to have a left-handed pitcher to throw against. And I think that that's what they're going to look to do. And if they win that battle, then I think that that's an advantage Phillies. And then finally, I think that there are 2 guys that, and it's going to sound stupid for me to say this, but that need to be difference makers for the Phillies. And the 2 guys are Bryce Harper and Trey Turner. And what I mean by that is Bryce Harper needs to be the superstar as opposed to just being really good Bryce Harper. He was really good Bryce Harper for most of the year, and that's fine. And he could be really good Bryce Harper, and they could still win this series. But if he's superstar Bryce Harper, they can beat the Dodgers. They will beat the Dodgers. And as for Turner, he just needs to come back and be healthy, trust his legs, be able to run the bases like he was, have his timing back. Having not played for a month, that's a concern. But if he can be himself, I think if those guys are themselves, the Phillies can win the series.
I think it's interesting. We talk about Ohtani and Harper and their status in the game. And I mean, there was a time where Bryce Harper was the face of the sport. Shohei Ohtani is now the face of the sport. And as I've noted on this show, it's nothing about him per se, but the way that he is covered and the way that it is, I think, overdone and the amount of overexposure. I mean, he's a legendary player. I can't dispute that, but I just find something agitating. I think my breaking point was a few years ago when Fox had the Dodgers and they put the graphic up on the screen that was like Ohtani coming to bat and, 6 batters away. I'm like, what the hell is this? Right. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder if, Bryce Harper is a guy that is obviously super aware of his place in history and he's a legacy guy. He wants to be known as an all-timer. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Bryce Harper, if he doesn't have a good series, it's going to be a negative against his overall record at the end of when it's all said and done. I'm not going to do that. But I do wonder as he comes into this game, having had a good year, and playing across from a guy like Ohtani, who is now just exploded to a different planet in terms of popularity, does he look at this as an opportunity to kind of say, by the way, I'm still here and I am that guy? And I think you referenced it last week when they were in San Francisco and he started to heat up. He had said a couple times in a week span, like, I am one of the best players in the sport, like as if he was almost reminding himself of that, but also sort of reminding everybody else of that. Well, here's an opportunity to do it because you're playing the big bad Dodgers. All eyes are going to be on this series. I think by far this is the most compelling of the 4 the DS series. Like, this is your chance to kind of take it back, at least for a week, and just let everyone know that, like, I'm still that bad man, and he typically thrives when he has that mentality. I do hope he doesn't try to do too much and overextend himself in trying to make the point.
Yeah, and it's a good point that you're making there, Bob, at the very end. Like, I think that's the most important thing. Like, he's got to be that guy, but stay within himself at the same time, right? The one thing I can tell you is, we were down there on Tuesday for their workout, and Bryce doesn't usually come out and do BP on the field. He usually does it in the cage, so we never get to see him hit before a game. And I know it's just batting practice, but dude was peppering rocket after rocket after rocket into the bullpen. Dead center field, swing after swing after swing. Then they have the inter squad game, and he hits the home run to the same spot, basically, right? I mean, so like it's almost like you're seeing him like, okay, I'm going to lock in now. And if he does in these games and locks in and becomes that guy again, Phillies have a great chance to beat this team, because then you're saying we're going to match your superstar with our superstar, and he's going to hit homer for homer with him, or whatever the case might be, hit for hit with him. And then ultimately, I do believe that the Phillies lineup towards the bottom is still slightly better than the Dodgers towards the bottom of the lineup. I'll take the top of the Dodgers lineup over the top of the Phillies lineup, but I'll take the bottom of the Phillies lineup over the bottom of the Dodgers lineup. And so, if Bryce can be that catalyst toward the top, him and Turner and Schwarber do their thing, then I'd like the opportunity for the Phillies to score some runs at the bottom of the lineup that I don't particularly love for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I want to get to a few comments, Bob, because
Sure.
people are a little annoyed with you.
That's fine.
People a little annoyed, although there is one person who's with you. But it was here we go. Amadeo says, Bob, you're not giving the Phillies enough credit for how well they played in the last month and a half, and you sound too scared of the Dodgers, right?
Yeah. I mean,
the
Phillies have played really well. This is a different beast.
Yeah. But Joseph Karmazin says that, I'm with Bob after the 2023 loss to the Diamondbacks. I'm numb, and them losing the Dodgers won't shock me or make me too upset.
Well, I'm glad that comment was made, because I do want to point out that the Dodgers come into this series with a 41-40 road record this season. They've been entirely ordinary. And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's a fairly decent road record. But Phillies won 55 games at home this year. They are a phenomenal team at home. They're an entirely different team at home. And I do wonder, am I overlooking to the extent that home field advantage does matter? This is what we were sweating the details about a couple of weeks ago, about how important that series was in LA. And that is for this reason, because they should get 3 cracks at it in a 5-game series. And here's my only problem. I know that tomorrow night that environment is going to be awesome. Like, I was there when they came back in 22. They had been on the road forever. Remember, they went out on that long road trip, and they were in St. Louis. Then they had to go to Atlanta. Then they finally come home. And it was just like a decade of pent-up energy and frustration and anticipation. And that crowd that weekend was awesome. Awesome. And it was great the entire run in 22. 23, really good crowd. But I watched what I watched when the Diamondbacks came in here in game 6 and 7. Like, it is not a slight on the fans. It is not a slight on the environment. I think it does give you an advantage to a degree. But, like, we can't sit here and just be like, yo, it's Red October, baby. Nobody comes into the bank and beats the Phils. Like, yes, they do. Like, the Mets did. The freaking Mets did last year. The Diamondbacks did it. Like, I mean, so I'm having a hard time. Like, I think that the home field advantage is critical. I think that it gives the Phillies a much better opportunity to win the series. But I can't sit here and do the false bravado, puff out my chest, like, ain't nobody coming in here. Like, okay. And, like, I know Ohtani's going to get it tomorrow. Like, he's going to hear stuff he's probably never heard before. Like, it's going to be wild. But, like, do you think that Shohei Ohtani really gives a shit? Probably not. Like, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, no, I think the one thing about the Dodgers, and I'm not trying to dull the fans from doing things. Go ahead, be your typical selves. Be the Philly fans that you're supposed to be. That made it 4 hours of hell for the Atlanta Braves, right? Like, be that. You do help the team in that regard. But if there's a team that's immune to it, I think it's the Dodgers, because of just their experience and their talent and their ability. I don't think it bothers them as much. Although, again, never pitched in the playoffs before, and the first time you're going to pitch is going to be in front of that rabid crowd Saturday night. It could be, you never know.
I do think it's going to be different for him.
You asked the question earlier. You said, do we make too much of home road splits? And we'll find out, right? Like, this is a perfect example. If Ohtani has to pitch twice in this series, it's going to be both at Citizens Bank Park. The second time would be in a game 5. He's not as good on the road as he is at home this year. Is there anything to that? The Phillies last year lined up their pitching so that Christopher Sanchez would pitch at home because he pitches better at home. So there are teams, obviously we have proof that teams look at that stuff and think about that stuff when making these decisions. So maybe it does impact him. Maybe he's a little bit more, maybe he's just good, not great when he pitches on the road.
Am I wrong to think that we're going to see Jesus Luzardo in game 2 of this series?
No, I think I now think it's going to happen. And I think it's because, and this is what I was writing about yesterday with the lefties. Let's just say Sanchez doesn't go long tonight. Let's just say for whatever reason, throws a lot of pitches, gives up a couple runs, whatever. It's a 5-inning start. And let's say you need to get through Ohtani and Freeman twice after Sanchez and before Duran. Okay. Yeah. So in that in-between phase, and you need to face them twice. Matt Strom's obviously getting one of them, right? As good as Tanner Banks has been this year, I don't think that they want Tanner Banks to be the other guy to face those guys in a tight spot. I guess it depends on what the score is, the situation. If they have a little bit more of a cushion, then maybe Tanner Banks is the guy. But if it's tight, if it's a tie game, 1-run game, whatever, I think it's going to be Ranger Suarez tonight. And I think they want that option.
Yeah.
or Saturday rather. I think that they want that option. And I know it's only for one game because then there's enough days off that Suarez could then pitch in game 3 on Wednesday in Los Angeles without a problem. But I think that they want to have that as a possibility just for game, because I think they recognize how important game 1 is for this team.
Lineup. What are we going to see tomorrow night? Let's work through it one by one. Turner will lead off, obviously.
Yep.
Kyle Schwarber 2.
Yep.
Bryce Harper 3.
Yeah.
Alec Boehm 4.
Yeah.
I mean, I did say,
I know you hate it.
I just hate it. And look, I know he swung the bat really well when he came back, and that does give me some hope. This is probably it, right? Like, he has a chance, I think, to sort of change the way he's looked at. And I probably look at him with a more critical eye than others do. I know there are a lot of fans out there that like Alec Boehm as a player much more than I do. And that's fine. I get it. I feel like this, though, is like the series where if he just is beating balls into the dirt and they're not pitching to Harper and he can't do anything with it. This to me is what I can't get past. It's like a mental block for me. I'm like, a World Series team with Alec Boehm hitting 4th. I can't get there, man. I just can't get there.
Well, that's how they're starting. I mean, that's what they're going to start with. Marsh will hit 5. Bader will probably bat 6.
Again, I don't want to do this today, but Brandon Marsh was awesome the last 3.5 months of the season. That's what you have to go by. But
yeah,
Boehm Marsh 4-5. This team's going to win the World Series. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I give Brandon Marsh a lot of credit.
Dude, he's been awesome. I love Brandon Marsh. And I know that what I just said sounds like I'm knocking him. I love the guy, and I think he's a good player. But Boehm Marsh 4-5 is tough, man.
Yeah.
That's a little
again, that's only going to be Friday. I mean, or Saturday, game 1, because against Blake Snell, he's not going to be in the lineup. I don't think. Right. So yeah. So I mean, you're just looking game 1. That's going to be your 4-5. Bader 6. I think that they're going to go Real Muto 7, and then Kepler 8, Stott 9 is what I believe it's going to be. Yeah, and then if they bring in a lefty reliever to face the bottom part of that lineup, you'll see Nick Castellanos bat for Kepler.
What if I told you 2 things? What if I told you, number one, that in the middle or the 3rd week of April, that Brandon Marsh would be hitting 5th for a 96-win team in game 1 of the NLDS? Would you have bought that when he was hitless?
I wouldn't have believed I wouldn't have believed it. But as far as buying it, I would then have said to you, I would say, well, then I guess he's going to have a great 5 months.
He really did too. He really did.
And he did, right? And he went ahead and did it.
He really did. And then what if I told you, I don't know, as late as August 10th, that Max Kepler would still be playing and in the lineup in a game 1 for this team?
Yeah.
Oh my God. There's a lot of things that you just have to, it's, in a way, I'm saying it like it's a negative thing, but in a way, it's a real credit to these guys that they've been able to right the ship, and that they've made themselves into integral parts of this run that the Phillies have gone on. Let me ask you this. You get to game 2, you talked about Marsh obviously not being in the lineup. You assume Kepler obviously would not be in the lineup as well if it's Blake Snell. What does the outfield alignment look like in a game 2?
Weston Wilson, Harrison Bader, Nick Castellanos.
It's wild. This is a what? I don't know if we were doing a 93 Phillies podcast, if we'd be talking about so wait a minute. One night you're going to have Thompson. The other night you're going to have Incaviglia out there.
Well, they did it. They did it too. They platooned left and right. Now,
they did.
They platooned Thompson and Incaviglia in left, and West Chamberlain and Eisenreich in right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and it worked for them, right?
It will be. I mean, if they do this right, if they go to the World Series, they win the World Series, and you say all right, 10 years from now, let's talk about the parts of that team, and you're Oh, it was Weston Wilson, and I just it's.
I mean, I shouldn't guarantee that it's Weston Wilson. It could be Otto Kemp.
It's probably going to be out. I mean, it's probably going to be Weston Wilson.
I think it's going to be Weston Wilson too. He's a better defensive outfielder. Not that that's much of an upgrade, but it's a little bit better than Otto Kemp. And he does tend to hit the ball harder than Otto Kemp with more regularity. But they both played left field in the inter squad game. So I think it was kind of like they're debating it. I think it might be matchup dependent, to be honest with you.
Any chance that they after tomorrow? I mean, I don't expect that. You obviously laid out the lineup as well. I don't expect to see Nick Castellanos. I don't think that anybody does in game one. You'll see him in game two. Is there any chance as the series progresses that they sort of default back to like this guy has big game experience? Like, is there a chance you see him start against a right-hander at some point in this series?
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance. If Kepler's not hitting, then yeah, for sure. And I think it's a short leash on Kepler. And they could go back to that. And I also think Castellanos is going to come off the bench as soon as Alex Vesia comes into the game, or if the Dodgers put Kershaw in the bullpen and Kershaw comes in. I think you're going to see Castellanos instead of Kepler. So Castellanos may end up with more at-bats than Kepler anyway. Even if in games he doesn't start. So yeah, I do think that that's a very real possibility. And I also think they're going to platoon second base, Bob. I think Edmundo Sosa is going to play.
That was my next question. Are we not getting consistent Bryson Stott at bats here? Are we going to see Edmundo Sosa?
We are. I mean, the only way I think you'll see Stott against a lefty is if the Phillies are ahead and it's later in the game and a spot you say, okay, normally we would pinch hit with Sosa here against the lefty. We're not going to, because Stott's the better defensive player, and so we're going to keep Stott in the game for defensive reasons. I think the situation will dictate it, but more often than not, Edmundo Sosa is going to get the at-bat against a left-handed pitcher.
What else do we need to know here going into this series? Like you've done the media days, you were down there for the inter-squad scrimmage. Going into this week, what have we not talked about that we need to know?
Juan Duran's going to probably pitch more than an inning a couple of times. I would not be surprised if he gets a 4 or 5 out save responsibility. And I think that's very real. I think it's a very real possibility. I think the Phillies are a little bit concerned about how light their bullpen is. They probably had a plan to move a starter into a role out there before Wheeler got hurt, and then that changed everything. And so now who are you relying on? Kerkering looked a little bit better in his last few outings, right? A little bit better, a little bit more trust of his stuff. If that's the Orion Kerkering you're going to get, then great. Then you'll see him a little bit. David Robertson's got great experience. He knows how to pitch in these spots, and Strom. But that's pretty much a Tanner Banks, maybe a little bit earlier in the game. But they really would prefer that it's not much of the middle relief, and it's mostly starter Duran. And I think that that's what they would love to have be the case, and how they manage those 9 outs in between is going to be that's the time when everybody should be chewing on their fingernails, because who knows what happens there.
Let me ask you this, and I apologize if you hear behind me now. Not only do we have the echo, we have some construction taking place underneath of me, so you're hearing a saw.
Can't be any worse than my wife's alarm going off to let her know to go back to her office.
I'm trying to mute the mic in between me talking here. Okay, so Phillies or Dodgers lineup, which one do you take? Who has the advantage in the lineup?
I think it's really even. Like I said earlier, obviously you take Ohtani, you take Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, even with Turner, Schwarber, Harper, right? Like, as good as Turner, Schwarber, Harper are, how do you say that they're better than Ohtani, Betts, Freeman? You can't, right? So I think that the top of that lineup is better, but I do like the Phillies' depth in the lineup better than I like the Dodgers' depth.
Starting rotation.
Dodgers.
Bullpen.
Phillies. Although that's like,
I know,
that's like saying who has the better bicycle in a motorcycle race. Like, that's neither bullpen is great, I think, but the Phillies is probably just a little bit better than the Dodgers.
All right. So where are you at on this? What's going to happen?
I'm going to pop this comment up from our good buddy Chris. because this is truly a Negadelphia episode of Fighting Words.
I don't know what you want me to do, Chris, and everyone else. Like, do you want me to just come on and be like, "Yay, Red October"?
Yeah, I mean, look, I like to think that people listen to this
40 years
pod.
old. Like, I can't do it, man. Like,
But Bob, I like to think that people listen to this pod because we give honest analysis, right? That we're not a rah-rah podcast. We're also not a hot take, negative all the time WIP version of a podcast, right? Like, so we give you an honest opinion. Are we going to be right all the time? No. Are we going to be wrong sometimes? Of course. Although I will point out that not only was I perfect in my wild card predictions, I was 4 for 4, but I was 4 for 4 and nailed the number of games in each series while I was at it.
Pretty good. So stay hot. So this impending pick carries a lot of significance, a lot of weight.
I'm taking the Dodgers in 5.
Yeah,
I am. But I'll add this. I am not comfortable with this pick because I think it can go the other way. I really believe this is kind of one of those 50-50s, and I'm only leaning one way.
I do too. Just because I think the Dodgers are going to win doesn't mean that I don't think that the Phillies can. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, like, man, I think you better hope for a miracle. Like, I don't feel like that. Phillies could very well go out tomorrow, beat up Ohtani early, hold on, get a game 1 win, reset, come back, just like the way you look at the 08 NLCS, right? Yeah. Like, they survived Derek Lowe in game 1, and then game 2 was just like a party. They just beat the shit out of the Dodgers in that Friday afternoon game. Like, that could happen again.
No, it can. But here's the other thing this is the other thing that I will add to that, right? If the Phillies find their way through this series and do find a way to beat,
I think they're going to win the World Series.
I think they win the World Series.
So I'm glad you said that. I want to get out in front of that too, because like what'll happen is if they win this series, I will then come on here and be like, this team is winning the World Series, and everyone's gonna be like, oh, you weren't on the bandwagon on October 3rd. Like, I wasn't, because I just thought that the team they were playing was really good.
Right.
But I think the Phillies are also really good. I just think they're just slightly less really good. That's all.
Right. That's all it is.
I would take the Phillies. Here you go. There's 8 teams left. Phillies are obviously one of them. The Dodgers are one of them. Phillies against any of the other 6 teams in this postseason field, I would take to beat.
Yes, I agree with you. 100%. And I've had a hard time with this. Like, I really wanted to. I watched those 2 Dodger games very closely because I wanted to see. Look, and I also think that managing comes into play a little bit here. And I don't particularly love Dave Roberts as a manager in the postseason. I think he makes a lot of curious decisions. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But I sit there and say, you made it harder on yourself for no reason. And so, like, I do think that there's a chance that happens, right? That he makes a mistake, and that could go in the Phillies' favor. Whereas Rob is a little bit more conservative, not as aggressive, and sometimes we complain about that. And maybe Rob is too conservative on a decision that hurts the Phillies. So I think ultimately this could be a time, and I always say that managers don't win or lose games, but in a series that's this close and this tight, a managerial decision could sway it. It could swing it one way or the other. So I think that's an important matchup to watch and how they play the chess match between Dave Roberts and Rob Thompson.
Absolutely. All right. What do you got? One last thing?
One last thing, and I want your opinion on this. Did you see the video of the end of the Cubs-Padres yesterday? When the Padres...
The umpires coming off the field and the...
Nearly attacked the umpires?
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
Yeah.
Like, here's my rant, Bob, and I want to tell me if you feel the same way. San Diego Padres superstar players did nothing in this series. Tatis and Machado did nothing in this series, okay? This is a team that went out and sold the farm to get all these players that they were going to bring in to not only catch the Dodgers and win the division, but then be like a favorite in the postseason. They not only didn't catch the Dodgers, they were mediocre down the stretch, and then they get bounced in 3 games by a Cubs team that's not as good as them. And they're going to sit there and they're going to flip the hell out on an umpire on a borderline call. And let's be honest, it was a borderline call. Is it possible that it was just below the strike zone? It is. It could have been called a ball.
I saw
But
some of the like the Statcast. I think or Savant actually had it on the black. I mean, like
yeah,
or,
it was really close. And to lose your mind over that when you did not produce over 3 games against a team that you should have beat, you're really, really showing some personality of what your real personality is.
Yeah,
They're a
loser
loser
DNA.
team.
Yeah,
They're a loser team. And that's my thought. I just want to get your take on it as well.
you said it all. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. You know what I do want to add though? I watched pretty much every game in the wild card round, and it was good. It was fun. It was tight. Like the product so far through that opening round has been pretty damn good.
Yeah. Oh, it
Go
has.
Tigers, by the way. I'm rooting for the Tigers. I love the fact that they collapsed the way they did. And then they just came back and said, "Okay, cool, thanks."
Boy, the Tarek Skubal shove.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Like, I mean, that was an unbelievable pitching performance. Speaking of unbelievable pitching performances, and I hate to give the Yankees credit, but Cam Schlittler lit last night.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming, man?
That was awesome.
That was pretty damn incredible. The way
he grew up a Red Sox fan and all, and then he's walking off the mound. Did you see how he like mouthed F Boston or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. So yeah, well, there was some great pitching. Hopefully for the Phillies, they get a similar outing out of Christopher Sanchez tomorrow night, and then we'll be back on to talk about. We're gonna talk about the schedule and how things will go. We'll certainly do one on Monday morning.
Game 1 victory in this Dodgers in 5.
It has to be
but you have them winning tomorrow night and then losing the series in 5.
The Phillies,
yeah,
I would have them winning game 1 and losing the series in 5. Yeah, because I don't think they're going to win game 2, and then I think they'll split out in LA, and then it comes back here for a pivotal game 5.
I don't. I think my path is like Phillies in 5. I don't think they win in LA
at all.
I don't. No.
Wow.
I don't like what's happening in the middle of this series. Like, I think Luzardo has a shot if he's the game 2 starter at home. I like him more at home than I do on the road. And then game 3, I think game 3 is just like auto L.
Yeah, well, you got Sanchez going. Sanchez could go game 4.
Yeah, I don't think so though. I think it's going to be game 5. I think Aaron Nola is going to be a factor in this series too. We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, I do too, and I'm not sure exactly how. The fact that he pitched both he and Luzardo both pitched the inter squad game at the same time makes me think that they're a little bit of a piggyback.
Yeah, I don't feel great about that. We'll see. I hope I'm really wrong. I hope the Phillies come out and win 10-1 tomorrow night, and on Monday morning I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. I do think it's gone to full 5, though. I think that we're going to get 3 home games in this round down at the ballpark, 2 Saturday nights, and man, it's going to be fun.
I'm bummed. I haven't missed the park too much this year. I don't miss the grind. I know you're going down there today. Like, I don't miss any of that. I really don't.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night around like 5:30 when that thing starts filling in, I'm going to miss it then.
Yeah.
And God knows, I just bought this house. I can't afford to go. So that's the resale market has outpriced me. So
yeah. Well, maybe if I start, you know what's going to happen? By I sat there and I was cursing myself. I'm like, this is what I get for not being a betting person, right? Like I nailed the 3 series, even in the number of games. I got all 4 of them right.
Mortgage payments with that.
Didn't bet a damn thing. But I know my luck. Like, if I were to then bet those series, I would have gotten them all wrong.
Yeah. The only one that I felt strongly about, I mean, the Dodgers, but they were such a significant favorite that okay, cool. You picked the Dodgers. I liked the Tigers. And that would have been one that I would have considered actually like playing.
I'll tell you right now, I know the Mariners are going to be favored. Don't sleep. I said it last week. I'll say it again. Don't sleep on the Tigers.
Yeah, they got to hit with runners in scoring position, though. I'll be honest with you. Like that series was only as close as it was because they couldn't finish. I mean, they finally broke through late yesterday, but I mean, they had that team on the ropes the first 5 innings of the game yesterday, and they had numerous opportunities in game 2 to win it.
Yeah, but I think winning the series that could galvanize them a little bit. So anyway, all right, we went a little off the rails there at the end. After one last thing, but anyway, that'll be it for this episode of Fighting Words. Thanks as always for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to Fighting Words on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast. Best place right here on YouTube. Click that thumbs up, ring the bell. Make sure you never miss a show. You always know when Bob and I go live. We will be back on Monday. For those of you in the podcast feed, it's youtube.com/@fightingwords if you want to subscribe on YouTube. But we will be back on Monday to break down what happened in game 1 and to look ahead at game 2 Monday night. And then we'll see when we talk after that, because as you guys know, I'm heading out to LA yet again. Right back on that cross-country flight for games 3 and hopefully game 4 out at Dodger Stadium next week. So for Bob Wankel, I'm Anthony Sanfilippo saying thanks for tuning into this episode of Fighting Words. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the NLDS, and we will talk again on Monday.